Hey, I'm good. How are y'all?
Hey, thanks for being here.
Hey, Eric.
Thank y'all for having me.
Hey, I hear it's ball game night.
It is ball game night.
It's that season. I get it.
It seems like it's every night.
Isn't it the best?
Hey, Eric.
Oh,
We're live
Yeah.
now.
all right. So Ben, whenever you're ready, Greg, are you good? Greg, if you're good, we'll let Ben drop gavel and we'll get started.
Yeah, the best gavel I have is a Stanley mug in this vehicle right
Oh,
now.
I
But
think you hit the horn a couple times.
I'll,
All right.
yeah, get arrested here in Louisville. Yeah.
Outstanding. Hey, perfect. Let me welcome everyone to this kind of unusual, but we're thankful everyone's here. This August Paducah Citizens Advisory Board meeting. We are meeting virtually tonight, and just to be completely transparent, uh, about 3 weeks ago, the office where the cab typically meets had a little bit of a mold scare, and so the school was fantastic and handled it with an abundance of caution, and everything is clear and safe and ready to go. But at the time, they couldn't really give us an estimate on how long they were going to need to remediate some things, if that actually needed to happen or if it was just some cleaning and some wipe down. So they did some testing, did all sorts of things, and while that was going on, the decision was made, out of an abundance of caution, to take this meeting virtual. And so because of that, we're meeting in a different format. We look forward to having everybody back in person in September, and are really looking forward to that. Just a couple notes: because we're meeting virtually, there are a couple things we're going to do different than we normally do. Um, Oral public comment could be received, but you had to send a notification to Zach Boyarski by Tuesday afternoon. We received no request for oral public comment. We did receive 2 submissions of written public comment. So those will be attached as appendices to the minutes. You have a copy of all of those in the meeting materials that came out. And when we get to the public comment portion of the meeting, I'll address those then. But I wanted you to be aware that we did receive some written public comment and you have copies of those. All right, so with that, what if we walk around the room as best we can and do introductions? So I'll call roll, and if you'll test your mic and say you're here. Anything else you want to add to the festivities? That's great, but we'll kind of knock that out. So let's start with the cab. Ben Stinnett.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Gay Brewer.
I'm here.
Excellent. Eric Butterball. Hey, Eric.
Hey, just chasing kids around, so I'm watching them.
Oh, good to have you. Good to have you.
Yeah,
All right,
thanks.
so we've got Eric. Billy Bob is not with us tonight. Galen Grubbs. Hey, Galen. Oh, no audio? Okay, got the head shake. All right, Reese Henderson. Did Reese make it? We're expecting him tonight, but I haven't
I
seen
am
him.
here.
Oh,
He's here.
Reese. Hey, buddy. How are you?
I've made it. Yes. Good. How are you?
Good. How's school?
Oh, I'm out, man.
Oh, you're out. You're done.
Living the free life.
Oh, good for you, man. Good for you. Hey, thanks for being here tonight.
Here.
Do we have Joycelyn?
No.
No, I don't think so. Myron Wessel. Hey, buddy.
I'm here.
Riley Willett.
Hello.
Hey, Riley. All right, so representing the Department of Energy, we have our DDFO, Greg Simonton.
I'm here. Thank you.
We have and correct me if I get the title wrong, it is Acting Paducah Site Lead. Steve, is that correct? Steve Clemens?
Yep, that's correct.
Excellent. And we'll give you a chance to introduce yourself in just a second. We'll get through introductions. And also with DOE, we have Chris Richards, the DUF 6 Project Director. Is that correct?
Project director, program manager, whatever you want to call me.
Oh,
Let me
program
call Royce
manager.
Eric.
All right. Whichever pays more. That's what we're going with. Thanks for being here, Chris. Looking around the room with US EPA, we have Brian Begley. Hey, Brian.
Hey, I'm on here. Thanks.
Perfect. All right. So with representing the Commonwealth of Kentucky, I see Brandon Marshall.
Good evening.
Hey, Brandon. Mary, you were able to pop in as well, correct?
Yes, I'm not sure I have audio though.
Perfect. We have Sonia Smiley. Hello, Sonia.
Hi there.
Thanks for being here. And April Webb. Hey, April.
Hi, nice to see you all tonight.
With the support staff on the board, we've got Haley Wiggins,
Hi, everyone.
Julie Galloway,
Hello, everyone.
and then my name is Eric Roberts. Is there anyone that? Oh, Rob Gentry with. Forgive me. We got Rob Gentry with the Dove 6 project. Hey, Rob.
Hello.
Make sure I get the correct name now. Is it Mid America Conversion Service Alliance?
Close. Mission and Conversion Services Alliance.
Mission and Conversion Service Alliance. All right. Forgive me. I apologize.
I'm
And
here.
then we have
I'm here too, Eric.
Zach Boyarski with ETA support contractor to DOE. All right. Is there anybody else I missed? Okay. So we're going to do a quick flip of the agenda. We're going to do the administrative piece first and look at the recommendation. But before we do that, Steve Clemens, acting site lead for the Paducah site. There's been a lot of reorganization and change within PPPO. You've come to us and you're directing traffic out at the site. I'll let you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your role and what you're doing. And
Perfect. Thank you. It's good to meet you guys virtually. We were going to plan to do this in person, but due to circumstances, look forward to being able to come out to one of them in the near future, and be able to see you guys in person. I came up out of Oak Ridge. My background is mostly from project management. I was a federal project director, then went on to a portfolio federal project director, which is similar to a site lead, but on a little bit of a smaller scale. And Eric said, I got a great opportunity for you. Help you grow professionally, help you learn some new things, round off some rough edges, and help support a great site that has been hit pretty hard by DRP and the resources, and just kind of help out. So I came up. I've been here probably about 2 months. I've started to learn that when Eric says, I've got a great opportunity for you, it may not exactly be the greatest opportunity, because 7 weeks into it, he goes, I want you to give a tour to EM1 and the secretary. And I'm like, Eric, I've only been here 7 weeks. So I've kind of, over the day-to-day activities, most of the decision 2029 activities will reside with April. I will be helping on the OSWDF and some of those aspects, and then just the day-to-day operations. Real high level, my background is in engineering. I came out of, grew up in the state of Florida, so I get a lot of blasphemy from Knoxville area. Everybody's like, go Vols, Big Orange, and I'm saying, yeah, I went to University of Florida. They're like, yeah, get out of the room, please. So coming up here is a great opportunity. I love the area. The people I work with are phenomenal, and I look forward to working with all of you as well.
fantastic. So 7 weeks in and the tour for EM1, and that's secretary, a lot of pressure there, right?
It was a great opportunity. I probably don't want to do it again, but it was a
Okay.
great opportunity.
Fantastic. Hey, it's great to have you here. And at any point, if you want to jump in and participate in the conversation, like you're one of us, so we appreciate it. Thanks for being here tonight. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to meeting you in person in September. Yeah. So, all right. So let's take a look real quick at the draft recommendation. Ben, I'm going to allow you in just a second to talk about this. This came out of the National Chairs meeting, right? And so just so we're aware of how this is going to work, these National Chairs recommendations are written collectively by the group of 8 board chairs and vice chairs who represent their sites on complex-wide issues being discussed, on things that maybe are broad and overreaching beyond what we look at individual sites, right? Because each of the 8 boards are so diverse, and you're really looking at and just really unique issues that affected. What you see are very high level recommendations, right? They don't often get deep down in the weeds, or else it becomes cumbersome to pass. So we are not allowed to edit or modify this recommendation. This is a thumbs up, thumbs down vote as to whether or not we would like Ben Stinnett to add his name to this and sign off that the Paducah Cab endorses this recommendation. It is a letter written by the chairs to EM1, Mr. Timothy Walsh. And you can see it real quick just for standard practice. We'll read this real fast. During the April 29th, 2026 chairs meeting, the EMSSAB received a presentation about the Department of Energy Environmental Management's reuse and recycle community of practice, the RRCOP. The RRCOP endeavors to collaborate between interested program offices and sites to reduce cost by facilitating the reuse and recycling of excess materials and equipment across the DOE complex. Each DOE EM site has its own unique mission, timeline, and budget. These sites may overlook collaboration when immediate material needs arise. The RRCOP aims to bridge this gap by providing a way for the sites to prioritize reuse and recycling among themselves. The EMSSAB chairs understand that the RRCOP was informally chartered in 2023 and is relatively new. It's encouraging to see how DOE EM's Office of Infrastructure and DOE D&D is integrating current site activities to ensure the reuse of federal assets across the DOE complex. This effort may ultimately reduce expenses to procure equipment and materials. The EMSSAB chairs commend DOE EM's efforts to save taxpayer dollars through the integration of RRCOP. The EMSSAB chairs support the RRCOP initiative and recommend the DOE-EM continue to foster the integration of this practice across the complex by increasing the number of sites involved with the goal of improving communication and awareness. The bottom half of the recommendation is a boilerplate piece of literature that we put on all national chairs recommendations. Because this comes from all 8 boards, and you'll see it list the states that are represented, the 160 total board members across the various communities, representing elected officials, large communities. And so this is an effort to make sure that whoever is reading this recommendation, especially if they're outside of the EM program, they understand the community of voices who are endorsing this letter. So that's where that stands. So at the chairs meeting, Ben Stinnett and Myron Wessel represented our board. Ben, Myron, anything you guys want to talk about from the chairs meeting on pulling this together and discussion that took place around this recommendation?
Yeah,
That
I'll
was
be
just a
glad to go
very
first.
interesting program. Oh,
Come on, you got it.
go ahead, Ben. Well, it was
Got
a
it,
very interesting, yeah, if you all can hear me.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it was a very interesting session, and it's kind of surprising that there's not more collaboration between the boards, where we don't know what's going on with them. So this was a very good recommendation just to get everyone collaborating as one unit. I mean, so it was a good thing.
Hey, Ben?
Yeah, to second that, one of this was really, the idea on this was how do we put a spotlight on this? There were two probably big pieces. One, we did not want to negatively impact, for us, what we call PACRO. And we got assurance that that wasn't going to happen. And then 2, we didn't want to make it more difficult for our site, to create a burden. But where it made sense to increase communication between the sites, save taxpayer dollars, that's the reason kind of this wording is more of a, we're supporting the effort. and just kind of giving a voice behind it that we love the direction and wanted to keep moving forward for that. So I think in the end, it's about increasing communication and saving money for taxpayers. That was the main heart behind it.
Okay. Does anyone on the board have questions about this recommendation? This is the very awkward part of a virtual meeting when trying to wonder if you're thinking or if you're just sitting quietly or if you're content. So we'll give you just a little longer. Any thoughts, questions from the board on this? All right, Gay, Eric, Galen, Reese, Riley, we're looking for, if there is no further discussion, we're looking for either a motion to proceed with a vote on this recommendation or a motion to table this action. Any preference?
I move to proceed.
Okay, Gay, thanks. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, any last call for thoughts, questions, discussions? Okay, since we're virtual, we have to vote by voice. So I will call roll and you can say yay to support signing this recommendation, nay that you would prefer the cab not support this recommendation, or abstain if you don't know exactly how you feel or just don't want your vote on the record. That's perfectly allowed too. So real quick, we'll walk through this. Ben Stinnett.
Yay.
Thank you. Gay Brewer.
Yay.
Eric Butterball.
Yay.
Galen Grubbs. I'm looking for your picture. You didn't have audio. Can we get a
Yay.
thumbs up? Oh, perfect. Thank you, sir. Reese Henderson.
Yay.
Myron Wessel.
Yay.
Riley Willett.
Yay.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So we will get Ben's signature. We will add it to this list. We will send that notice to Kelly. I think we're the last board to get a chance to meet. We had a couple hiccups through the summer. And so we will get that in and this will be submitted to Mr. Walsh and we'll go from there. Thank you for your time and effort. And thank you all for the flexibility on letting us rework the agenda tonight kind of on the fly. As you guys are aware, storms blew through the area last night. I know several of you are working on less than ideal internet feeds. So if things get sketchy or a little out of line, we we're glad we were able to take care of the administrative piece. All right. So if we slide forward, look at the agenda, DOE comments. Greg, and then we'll see if Steve have anything he wants to add. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing fine, and I don't have any prepared comments, Eric.
Okay. Steve, anything you want to update us on that's going on at the site that seems particularly relevant, or are you good?
I'm good for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, liaison comments. US EPA, Brian?
Yeah, just a quick update. EPA has received the site management plan for fiscal year 2027. It's really in like a red line draft form, but that was a recommendation to look at that and then see if there's any additional comments that need to be changed. For EPA, it will also go to our legal counsel to look at. But that really just, sets the priorities for the next 3 years, essentially, at the site. And so the idea would be to have one, all revised and ready to go when we actually start the fiscal year 2027. And in my almost 30 years of working, either for Kentucky or EPA on this, I don't know that we've ever had a site management plan in place before the fiscal year started. So it's a lofty goal, but we've been meeting for the last couple months to work on that. So I've got my fingers crossed on that one. And then the D&D operable unit, the remedial investigation feasibility study, the first draft of that was sent to regulators at the end of June. And we get 90 days according to the federal facility agreement. We're trying to beat that. I think we're in around the 60-day mark of looking at it. Most of my reviewers, they're all senior level staff, have looked at it. I'm just waiting on my attorney to look at it. We have not found any significant comments, and I think that's a testament to all the collaboration that's happened over the last 16 months, because essentially we've seen bits and pieces of the document over the last 16 months, and we continue to meet weekly. The Department of Energy, their contractors, Kentucky and EPA, and it's an open format usually to ask comments and bring up questions, focus on different parts of the document. So we're not seeing it for the first time. It's just taken us a while because it seems to be a very, very busy time, not just for Paducah, but other sites as well. So we've got a lot of projects we're trying to take care of. And then we also have the community relations plan for Paducah. I know Kentucky's already looked at that and weighed in, but I still have to review that myself. And that's my update from EPA.
Thanks, Brian. Any questions for US EPA from the board? Hey, Brian, before we step away, since I know you're okay giving answers, the SMP, Site Management Plan, has at times in the past felt like we were way behind on getting that approved on a schedule, right? And now to be in a spot where legitimately there is a realistic chance to have it done ahead of time or on time. Like, what does that say about the alignment between EPA, Kentucky, DOE, and the progress and the planning and the communication that's taking place?
Well, yeah, I mean, I alluded to almost 30 years. So I started with Kentucky in 1999 and retired from Kentucky in 23, and then started working for EPA, came back on the Paducah site in basically early 2025. And this is an unprecedented time of openness, collaboration, just really trying, because I mean, we shifted strategies. We were looking at strategy that was very heavy on the CERCLA document process, and all the projects were individual projects. And so we went from, I think the number's 51 decision documents, and then there's all these other documents that support those. And we went essentially and lumped all those together into 3 main ones and one that's further out. And believe it or not, that strategy it's getting a lot of attention, and rightfully so, because what I'm hearing is we're accelerating 20 to 25 years from that 2065 date down to either 2045 or 2040. And when you can do that, and you can not have to pay people an additional 20 years to work out there, it's going to save an estimated $10 to $14 billion. So it's a process that everyone is invested in. We want to all see it succeed, and we're all working really hard to make that happen. And so it's really an honor to have all this collaboration and openness and work through all of this together with the other agencies. So it's and I think the site management plan is just a offshoot of that openness and collaboration. Because I just said, hey, why don't we try to start earlier this year and actually get one done on time? And everyone said, yeah, that's a great idea. And the reason we haven't done it before, part of it is because our federal facilities agreement says, to DOE, you guys don't have to submit it to the regulators until the middle of November. And that's already into the fiscal year. So by the time the regulators see it and make comments and it goes back and forth, that can take a while. And so we just started earlier, and we just started working through the document from last year as a starting place. And then recording our red line changes. And then also, I guess, another testament is since last year, if we ever come up with something during the year and we go, ooh, that needs to be updated in the next plan, we have a person dedicated to just keeping track of that. So I think it's just organization and collaboration. And yeah, it's an unprecedented time of working together. It's not throwing documents over the fence and the regulators getting it and seeing it for the first time and going, what is this? I mean, we're all working together. So yeah, I appreciate the question.
No, that's fantastic. So with that, any questions, follow-up questions for Brian before we move forward?
Brian, one of the questions I've received from the community is just if we're speeding things up, does it put us more at risk? I mean, do you still feel confident that we're still doing this as safe as we can?
Absolutely. I mean, so, DOE, their number one priority is safety. I used to always say Kentucky and EPA's number one priority is cleaning up the environment, but you can't do that without considering safety. So I appreciate that question, Ben. I would also like to add that, all of that, what I just said, couldn't have people thinking, well, you're sacrificing something, safety or even cleanup. And to that, I forgot to mention that. So I definitely appreciate the question. This approach is a more robust, a more comprehensive cleanup than what was envisioned when we were looking at the 51 type of decision documents. And the reason is when you take things piece by piece, you may be over here and then you're only focused on that. And then if you don't consider that this area 50 yards away needs cleaning up as well, then it's hard to say, well, let's just take that whole area because it's not on your radar. But if you're looking at everything holistically and you start looking at, well, we can get some synergy going here because these units that need remediating are essentially right next to each other. And so you end up actually getting more cleanup. And then if I may, for another second, the whole cleanup strategy looks at if an on-site cell is selected, then what would go in it? Well, primarily all the buildings that were built in the early 50s, they're all in pretty bad shape. And so when you look at how much material is out there with the buildings, you can't just put all the buildings, the metal and the concrete into a cell without it kind of being padded, if you will. And so you need a lot of soil to do that. And most of the landfills like this that are created need a 2-to-1 ratio of soil to demolition debris. And when you start looking around the site and you're like, how much soil do we have that we know needs to be remediated? We have a good problem in the fact that we actually need more soil than the areas that are known to be remediated. And so we wanted to actually clean up even better than what is being required because we need more soil. So in most investigations, you kind of calculate a risk of what you can leave in the ground and what needs to come out, and then you stop. But in this case, we're looking to expand those margins more vertically and horizontally so we can get more soil, so we can put into a engineered and design waste cell.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Brian? All right. April, Sonia, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, any thoughts, comments from you guys?
I think Brian covered everything pretty well. I don't know that we have a whole lot else to add.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions for Kentucky? All right. So that gets us through DOE comments and liaison comments. We've covered administrative issues. All right, so we're moving forward to our first presentation of the evening. So the DEF 6 project, the last few years, we have spent the summer, like one of our big summer field trips is to go out and visit with Chris and see the Duff 6 facility. And sometimes we've done walking tours on the outside, and sometimes with it maybe in a bit of a shutdown phase, we've kind of stuck our head inside at various points. And this year we wanted to kind of do an update. There's some exciting things going on with the Duff 6 project. It is our for the EM program. It's the ongoing mission that's continuing. So Chris is, for those of you that don't know, Chris is a local guy. He's a Lone Oak graduate. Kid goes to school at McCracken County. Super bright. That clearly skipped generations, right, Chris? But
Just like your daughter.
just like my daughter. That's exactly right. And so Chris is, so when he's weighing in and doing all this, like it is the perspective of the benefit of knowing that the hometown guy is looking out for Paducah and for the community. All right. And not that he doesn't do his job professionally. Please don't hear that. But it sometimes it is nice to know that the guy out making decisions and driving work has the same interest, and you're going to see him at the grocery, and you're going to see him at the ball games and things like that. And we get that benefit from Chris, right? And with that comes an added layer of comfort and trust. And so, Chris, we're glad to have you tonight. When you're ready, just say slide, and Haley will roll us through. As you guys have questions, this is
Hey, I've got to jump off. Sorry to cut out a
No,
little
thank you,
early,
Ben.
but thank you, Chris, for being here. And just want to say welcome, Steve. Even if you're a Florida fan, go Cats. But looking forward to working with y'all. And I just wanted to say just thank you to the cab. There's so many of y'all that I feel like we can have a legitimate conversation, with DOE and actually looking to learn and to be better educated with presentations like this. And I just think our community needs that right now. So just wanted to say, proud to be a part of this board. And yeah, sorry, I've got to cut out early tonight.
Thank you, Ben. Be safe.
See y'all.
See you.
All right, Chris, floor is yours, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you, Eric, and thank you for the introduction. You always make me sound much better than what I really am, but I do appreciate it. Like I said, my name is Chris Richards for PPPO. I am the UF6 program manager. So Haley, go ahead and skip 2 slides if you don't mind. I'm going to go a little bit different order to the next one, please. So kind of what is the Duff 6 project? If this is a review for anybody, sometimes it's easier to explain starting from looking at the uranium enrichment cycle as a whole. So the way the enrichment cycle works is the uranium is mined out of the ground, oftentimes here in the United States, out west in Utah and Montana, places like that, also Canada and other foreign countries. It is then shipped to a conversion facility here. There is one very close to us that Mr. Wessel's probably familiar with across the river over at Honeywell. They convert that uranium ore into the UF6. That UF6 or uranium hexafluoride is the formal name for the chemical. It is then shipped for enrichment at at an enrichment facility. Historically, here in Paducah, it's always been out here at the Paducah Gases Fusion Plant. There were a couple other enrichment plants across the country, one in Oak Ridge that Steve's probably familiar with, a couple of them actually in Oak Ridge, and then also our sister plant up there in Portsmouth, Ohio. So the enrichment basically takes and tries to enhance the amount of uranium-235 isotope in the element. It comes out of the ground naturally at about 0.711% assay, or that's the percent of 235 enriched material in the molecule. So from there, once we enrich it, it always depended on what the assay that the end user needed. But here in Paducah, for a long time, we took it up to about 2%, up to a max of about 5% before we shut the plant down. So once the material is enriched, it would then come on down to the bottom center to a fuel fabricator. They'll take that UF6, convert it into the fuel rods and other things that are then shipped into the nuclear power plants that are used to generate electricity. What the part that I skipped was the depleted UF6 section. So anytime you enrich the material or consolidate that amount of U-235 in a component, you also get depleted material or depleted UF6 out the bottom. That is where the DUF6 program comes in. So if you go to the slide prior to this now, So what does the DUF6 conversion project do? DOE operates facilities at both Paducah and Portsmouth to convert all that DUF6 that was generated from years and years of enrichment, in hopes to advance our energy dominance and provide for any innovation that we can and get valuable reuse out of those materials. The DUF6 is a co-product from the enrichment process. As I mentioned, the enriched uranium goes on to fuel fabricators, ultimately ends up into fuel rods for generation. The depleted material is come out and we do treat it as a co-product. Over 50 years of enrichment between the three sites, Paducah, Portsmouth, and Oak Ridge, we generated over 67,000 seal cylinders where the depleted uranium hexafluoride is stored at. That's a picture of the cylinder yards. Those are ones here in Paducah. We've probably all seen these pictures, but that's the end product of the depleted material, where it is stored and where it is sent out into the cylinder yards. So we'll go on to the next slide and on to the next one, since that's one I just discussed. So kind of what is the mission for the DUF6 project? It's to safely convert that DUF6 into a more stable chemical form for ultimate beneficial reuse or disposal, and therefore lowering that risk to the workers and to the environment. Kind of the three major components of the DUF6 program. It is, we have an extensive surveillance and maintenance process and program that where we're always constantly looking at these cylinders, making sure they're still in good condition. We don't have any leaks. We don't have any things like that. It's also the actual conversion of the DUF6 into the more stable chemical form. I'll go through that here a couple slides later, so I won't get into that a lot more. But it's really, we take it from a hazardous form of UF6, we end up converting it into a much more stable form of, we call it uranium oxide, but it's basically mostly uranium U3O8. So it is a much more stable form. And as the bottom bullet says, we're always looking for beneficial reuses of this depleted uranium. There's multiple sources. We have other government entities that we supply this material for their causes. Of course, everybody's probably heard of the depleted uranium that's used in munitions and other things like that. So there's a variety of sources to reuse this uranium. Next slide. So this is the overview pictures of both Paducah and Portsmouth facilities. As if we had the angles lined up, you would notice that the conversion plants, it's the biggest plant in the center. They are basically built to identical footprints. Kind of, it was using that commonality in design when the project was initially started, and in the construction started probably about 2007. That commonality of design helped save some costs, gain some efficiencies. Both plants are, it's a similar technology, it's the same technology, similar footprint, similar layouts for a lot of the construction and conversion operations, along with the storage facilities. Next slide. As I mentioned, there is a plant both Paducah and Portsmouth. They are mostly identical, but like most things that we do between Paducah and Portsmouth, they can't be exactly the same. For the biggest difference is Paducah has 4 operational lines, where Portsmouth only has 3. And the reason was, out of that 67,000 cylinders that I mentioned in the earlier slide, about 44,000 were up here in Paducah. The other 24,000 were in Portsmouth. And it ended up the way it worked with the enrichment. There was several thousand were stored down in Oak Ridge. Also, all of those were also shipped up to Portsmouth for conversion also. But like I mentioned, that same design let us gain efficiencies through that common design mods. It also allows us to, you know, each facility can try different modifications, system improvements, and try to figure out, use the lessons learned from one site to improve the other site. A lot of times when we do a lot of these mods to try to increase this, we won't do it at both sites at once. We'll do it at one site and try it for a couple months or a year and see, is it really beneficial? Does it really help? Or is there other improvements that we can also make? So really, like I said, it really helps us apply those lessons learned across both sides and really make and keep both sides functioning a lot more smoothly and a lot more consistently. Next slide. So this is the one where I said we get into a little more detail about the actual conversion process. So starting at number one, that represents our cylinder yards, the ones you saw the pictures of. That's the 67,000 cylinders, what they all look like initially. When they're sitting out in the yard, they are in a solid form. You have 6 at ambient temperature or temperatures we see typically. It is a solid. So what we do from there, we bring those cylinders with cranes and other large handling equipment, because it all takes, everything associated with it is just like the buildings out here, it takes large equipment. These are mostly 14-ton cylinders. They're 48 inches wide and about 12 or 13 foot long, so it's not just your average forklift that has to pick them up and move them. It is specially designed cylinder haulers and other equipment to handle these cylinders. But we bring them in, we put them in our autoclaves, which is just a fancy word for an oven. We heat them up. From there, we turn that solid UF6, we heat it up until it turns into a liquid and then into the gaseous phase. That gas, that vapor pressure of that gas is what pushes the gas from from number 2 or autoclaves into where our conversion units are, number 3 there. The conversion units, it's a 2-phase reaction in that unit. The first phase, we combine that UF6 with steam. From that UF6 and H2O, we end up with UO2F2, and then we also generate HF or hydrofluoric acid. We end up recovering about that. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. So that starts turning it from a gas into a solid form. Those solids continue to fall down. At the bottom of the conversion unit is a fluidized bed reactor where we inject more steam and we also inject additional hydrogen. From that, we convert the UO2F2 into the final uranium oxide that I said, like primarily U3O8, but there is some slight other varieties. This is the reason we call it uranium oxide, plus additional HF. All the HF is in the vapor phase, and we try to recover that. We suck that out of the top. That's where you'll see the number 4 going across. We pull the HF with blowers, that HF vapor out the top of the conversion unit. We run it through some condensers. It comes out of there really hot. It comes out of there about 450, 500 degrees Celsius. So it is an extremely hot reaction that's ongoing through there. We cool that down, run it through that condenser, turn that HF vapor into mostly HF liquid. We drain that liquid down into the receiving tank there at number 5. We get probably about 90% recovery of the HF out of that, just that condenser and separator. What doesn't drain out through that condenser and separator, then that vapor comes on down into number 6 or our HFR scrubber. In there, we spray that vapor down with deionized water again. Once again, trying to remove all the HF we can. So we're spraying it down with that water solution to once again knock all the HF out of that vapor we can. That ends up coming back to our collection tank, also here in the receiver tank. So the combination of the liquid that's drained directly out of the condenser and separator, along with the liquid that is recovered through the HFR scrubber, it is all pumped out to our HF storage system. Out there, we have the capacity to store up to 60,000 gallons of liquid HF. For anybody else that's been on the tour with me before, that's where the 6 big tanks are lined up under that covered unit. From there, that is where we can then we sell all of our HF to a company out of St. Louis called Solvay. From that HF storage system, they can either come and pick it up in rail cars, or we can also load it out to semi trucks. So we have some flexibility and capabilities there. We obviously like the rail cars better. They are larger, so we can put 2 full tankers or basically 20,000 gallons into one rail car, where on a semi truck we can only put about a half of a tank. So it's a lot less manipulation with hoses, valves, connections, all that stuff. So we like to use the rail cars a lot more, but they don't have enough to fully sustain us. So we do use tanker trucks also to supplement it. So whatever HF is not recovered through the condenser and separator and then through the HFR scrubber, then goes through what we call our POS, or our process off gas scrubber. In there, we spray the liquid down with a potassium hydroxide or KOH solution. It's a really basic solution to neutralize any residual HF that is in that vapor. Obviously, nobody wants us releasing HF out to the atmosphere or into the environment. So therefore, we remove most of it. What's not removed, we do spray it down with this KOH scrubber here to neutralize everything before it ends up going out through our permitted stack system. The KOH, as it reacts with the acid, it is forms some solids. We remove those to filter press and is then wasted. I just talked you through the top end or the HF process of that. So we'll jump back over to the conversion units, and I mentioned the uranium oxide comes out the bottom. So we'll fall down to number 3A. That's where the heavier stuff material comes through. When the uranium oxide comes out the bottom of the conversion units, it really has roughly the consistency. It looks like black sand if you were to see it. So it's a fine material. It's a heavy material. Obviously, it's got uranium, so it's heavy. But it falls to the bottom. From there, we basically vacuum it up into our oxide hopper. It's at the top of the building. So it all collects up there, and that's where we can batch it into our cylinders. One thing we do reuse the cylinders that contain the UF6 as the ultimate container for the oxide. Once these cylinders are emptied out from the vaporization unit there at number 2, we pull them out, we run them through our cylinder stabilization system where we inject additional KOH or potassium hydroxide into it, spin it and neutralize whatever remaining heal quantity is in there. We then bring that cylinder and we modify it by cutting a hole in it, then welding a little weld-a-wet and flange on top of it. From there, we're pretty creative with our naming system here at DOE. So we put these cylinders in what we call an upender, which basically stands the cylinders up on their end, right underneath this hopper, connect a flange connection, and then we empty that hopper vessel into that cylinder. That really saves the project a lot of money overall because we're not having to buy additional waste containers to store this material, or ultimately also dispose of the empty cylinder. So by doing this, we're saving money on both fronts. Once that's filled with oxide, then it is moved back out to our oxide storage yard. From there, like I said, it is either sent off to where we can dispose it. All the disposal thus far has occurred in waste control specialist or specialties, WCS, out in West Texas, or we find some other reuses. Like I said, we do have several other reuses with some of our folks, other government agencies. Right now, a lot of that work is ongoing up in Portsmouth, where we're doing some modifications to the plants up there to continue that endeavor and reuse, find as many beneficial reuses for this material as we can. I said a lot right there, so I want to see if there's any questions on the conversion process before we go through any further. All right, we'll go to the next slide. And if anybody has a question on any of these, please speak up as we go through. All right. So as I mentioned, going through that slide, really the conversion process generates 2 compounds. One is the uranium oxide. Primarily, we stored most of it for either disposal or reuse. But like I said, we've got some projects ongoing up at Portsmouth where we're going to reuse a lot of that. Some of the cylinders down here in Paducah is also eligible to participate in that project, depending on the amounts and quantities they use. And we're always looking for any other possible beneficial reuses for any of this material. The other thing, like I mentioned, we recover the aqueous hydrofluoric acid, or HF. HF is a very valuable chemical right now. It's used in all sorts of industries, from etching of glass and circuit boards and other elements. You know, it's also used, it's a fluoride, so it's used in all kinds of cleaning chemicals from a commercial standpoint. So by selling that, once again, we're saving a lot of money for the project. By selling it, we offset a portion of our operating costs just by selling it in general in the industry. We also gain a lot of financial gains for the project by not having to dispose of that material as waste. So we're taking what would, if we weren't able to sell it and we had to just waste it and dispose of it, would cost us millions upon millions a year. And instead, we're making a couple $1 million off of it a year. Next slide. We'll hit some of the recent accomplishments related to the DUF6 project. So recently, earlier this year, back in March, they successfully processed their 10,000th DUF6 cylinder. combined between Paducah and Portsmouth. We also completed some major repairs on our hydrogen prism unit. As I mentioned, that second part of the reaction where we add additional steam and hydrogen, we create all that hydrogen there on site. We have backups. We have a bulk hydrogen storage system where we can buy it from a company like Air Products or Air Gas. But for the most part, we use natural gas and we crack our natural gas and separate off the hydrogen, reuse it because it's a lot more economically viable. We also bought some new tow motors. Like I said, we got 67,000 cylinders, so it's a lot of cylinder movements going on all over the place. And so, like I said, these are heavy cylinders. It takes big equipment, so we've got to constantly kind of replenish some of that stuff. One of the major modifications, the biggest one that we've done since I've been associated with the project anyway, is that evacuation header system. We are doing it first here in Paducah. We have completed the installation here, completed most of the readiness aspects of it. We are in the final stages of testing of it, and we hope to begin using that next year. That is a system. I didn't get into it when we talked about finishing off the cylinders, but one of the weak points for the system is when we get the cylinders really low in volume of UF6, we have to use vacuum pumps to basically suck out the remaining material in those cylinders to get everything out we possibly can. The good thing about those vacuum pumps is that they are expensive and they're not super reliable, and they also have really long lead times. So this evacuation header system is intended to replace those vacuum pumps. We hope it's going to reduce some downtime on the system, along with overall, it should have a payback, just from the cost of the vacuum pumps themselves, with the economics associated with those. Another thing you can see, that's what this picture is of here, is our intended place to put our new oxide loadout facility. We've kind of done it in stages because the way we've built this so far is with any plus up money that we've received from our congressional delegations. And so we weren't going to get enough money to do it all in one chunk. So we've kind of split it off into different phases. This shows the completion of phase 2 here in Paducah. Paducah is further along than Portsmouth, although we do plan to construct a facility at both locations. What it'll do is allow us to, one of the bottlenecks we really saw with the facility was once we started shipping these oxide cylinders, that the only location we can load these gondola cars, because we ship them out in large gondola row cars, it is very much a choke point of the operations. There's multiple cylinders going in and out of one specific point, and it really limits, it's either limits your ability to ship if you need to, or it's going to limit operations ability within that facility. So by constructing this a dedicated facility, it gets a lot of that additional equipment movement away from the conversion facility. And then also anytime you can design and construct a dedicated facility for a specific purpose, it is always it is typically much more efficient than just a multi-use type facility. So that's what our plans are. That's where it's at. We've added those 3 rail lines. The one rail line that curves back up that you can see the rail car set in has always been part of it. What we added was the other 3 rail stub outs. We also had to relocate a large dirt pile there on that gravel slot. We had to move that road, and then you see where all the gravel is, where that red truck and trailer and other material is. We all leveled that out, put the underground utilities in place so that we're ready to move on to the next phase of that facility construction when we have the funding available to do it. I believe that was my last slide, so I will ask for any comments or questions.
I have a quick question. This is Eric Butterball. What does the reuse of uranium oxide look like? Like where would it go, or is it still just like a can be determined?
We've sent it to a couple different places. We've sent it down to a couple of the national labs, some down in Oak Ridge before. We've also sent some out to Savannah River before, I believe. The one we're working on now is with our NNSA partners, where they are going to use it in furtherance of their mission, and all of their all of the different programs that they work on. So there is a lot of there's a lot of other potential aspects of it. You know, I mentioned the depleted uranium munitions that have been used heavily. Also, a lot of that armor piercing things in some form use um, uranium metal, and it's always depleted uranium metal. So there's always potentials to take the oxide into a metal form that could be used in any of those entities or whatever is dreamed up next.
Okay, thanks.
Are there other questions for Chris?
All right, I will go on mute. Thank you.
Marvelous. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you being here, buddy. All right. So the next item on our agenda is the student ACER. So Greg, we're going to have Zach Boyarski kind of introduce the video, but can you speak to just a minute about the student ACER program and what that means, the value to the communities of having high school students work on a revision of the ACER program?
Sure. So the student ACER is really an attempt by site personnel to boil down aspects of the ACER document, which is kind of complex, into different pieces, and then work with groups of students to interpret and kind of do an executive summary as the end product, to be able to speak about the various aspects of the sampling, the results, and it really instills, in my mind, a lot of confidence in what the site is doing. It allows the students to, frankly, become some of the most informed members of the community because they're actually diving into a document that most people don't read. And it gives us a chance to demonstrate some of the science, technology, engineering, and math that we utilize. So we're trying to make a real world experience for the students. At the same time, have them gain a greater understanding. Then the thinking is that they would be sitting around the kitchen table with their family and they'd be able to talk about the site and speak intelligently about it. And I don't think at Paducah, but as much as here, but we had a lot of misunderstanding about the site history and some of the impacts. And this has gone a long way in my mind to getting a more informed set of leaders that will be coming up on the horizon that have a better understanding of the activities at the site, and also the work that we're doing to do remediation, and also the current conditions and where we're driving to with the cleanup program. I'm not sure exactly what all you were looking for, Eric.
No, that's great. Yeah, like so it's just the ability to take the work we do, engage students, allow them to use it as a project that they can grow and develop their skills while simultaneously allowing them to ask all the hard questions that young people ask, right? And kind of vet the material is really, yeah, very impressive.
And you try to make it enjoyable for them, but also it gives them a chance to work with SMEs from the site, from the university, to get a chance to work with experts in the field. And that's an opportunity that I know growing up here around this site, we didn't have opportunities to work with the site, like things like the ACER student project give the students today a chance we didn't have growing up here, 30, 40 years ago when we were in school. So I'm an old guy, so I have to say 40 years for me, but yes.
So Greg, and real quick before we hand it over to Zach, I think if I understand right, if I remember right, we've done the student ACER program in Portsmouth maybe a couple years longer than we have in Paducah. You guys have actually seen kids that have been exposed to real world career possibilities from interacting with site folks through the ACER, who have gone to college and are starting to like want to come back and get hired on site. Like there's this don't tell anybody, Gabe, but it's kind of this sneaky trick DOE's pulling to like inform, educate, and let folks know that there are, you know, career possibilities there. Is that right, Greg?
Absolutely. And that's really what we gear our student projects towards. Our you know, our high school students are getting ready to make college decisions. And so through the various things, the Science Bowl, the student ACER, any interaction that we have is really geared to broadening their horizons so they can actually see in our communities, there are opportunities to work with a technical degree. You don't have to move away. We've got students and we have a pretty large, we call it Science Alliance, but it's basically a technical science fair for juniors in high school. And we have students that have participated in the Science Alliance, the Science Bowl, the Student ACER, have gotten scholarships from contractors, and then get through school and come back and have been hired at the site. And it's pretty neat to see students. I think several of them would agree that had no idea that careers could be, you know, could be in fields like that, but also careers at home. And it's very satisfying to see, you know, our students get a chance to get out in the world a little bit, look beyond, in our case, Southern Ohio or Western Kentucky, and then come back home and get a job after doing that. That's pretty rewarding. So that's kind of a side benefit, but it's truly a benefit for the students and the site.
Fantastic. All right, Zach, you worked with the team that pulled together this video. Do you want to do a quick intro for us?
Yeah, so basically, this we thought this was a good opportunity to highlight and showcase the work that DOE is doing in conjunction with Murray State through a grant with Murray State. We worked with McCracken County High School this last year with their AP Environmental Science class and their Engineering Capstone class. And so we thought it was a good opportunity. Portsmouth has done some videos in the past on their student ACER, and we thought it would be a good time to be able to showcase the work that DOE is doing with Murray State, McCracken County, to showing the educational outreach, kind of like what Greg pointed to when he spoke earlier. So you'll see and hear from DOE personnel. You'll hear from students, Murray State, and then the teachers that we worked with as well. And you'll kind of get a good grasp of just the whole process and what their thoughts were on the project in general.
Fantastic. All right, so while Haley's pulling that up, I want to give everybody fair warning. We are at the mercy of multiple internet connections for this to stream. Chances are there's going to be a little lag when you view it. So if you want to see a clean, smooth copy, there is one placed in the Google Drive that has the meeting materials that's available both online. I think it's linked in our YouTube comments. You can get to that if you're watching at home, or if Haley sent you that link for the folks in the meeting. You can click on it and watch the 4 or 5 minute video on your own time and maybe see a little better playback. But I wanted us to see it collectively and have the opportunity to hear your thoughts and comments. So Haley, we've remembered to turn on the audio, correct?
Yes, we have.
Oh, you're the best. All right, whenever you're ready, ma'am.
Okay.
My name is Mitchell Guthrie. I work for the U.S. Department of Energy here at the Paducah site. In my role, I'm a project manager over the annual Site Environmental Report, otherwise known as the ACER. It characterizes the progress we're making here at the Department of Energy Paducah site in our cleanup mission. This report allows us to verify technologies and strategies are truly effective here at the Paducah site. The impact of the environmental program is equally important. The ACER is a critical check to show that our remediation actions are not inadvertently creating new problems in the environment. Through a partnership, Murray State helps facilitate our Student ACER program, which is modeled after a similar program in Portsmouth. Our main goal is to collaborate with students and teachers to help them understand the site history, environmental impacts, and careers here at the Paducah site.
So Murray State University's involvement with the ACER comes from great opportunity. The university was awarded a $1.5 million grant. Because of this great opportunity, we are at McCracken County High School teaching the students about the work, the important work that's being done at the site. The students are tasked with the job of creating a student ACER that is non-technical. At the end of the semester, Murray State University will prepare a publication that is released and available to the public.
McCracken County High School, the students there, their role in this process has been taking the ACER itself that was produced and released by the DOE and then summarizing the information and putting it in more in layman's terms, so that it can be understood by people that don't work in the profession on a daily basis or even at all. Just make it available for the community to see.
My role with the ACER was the site history. We talked about when the site was constructed, what they did, when it was leased to USEC, and what it was previously used for, and now, and also what the area that it takes up.
I learned just how much goes into the testing and the process they use to make sure that all the soil is safe, because I never really considered what is possible, the issues that can come from working with all these different compounds, radiation and uranium. I learned just how much goes into it and how much extra steps they take to make sure the soil is safe and to prevent harm to the environment.
It was definitely something that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do, and I just feel like it was very eye-opening. Like, there was nothing that I learned this year that I went in already knowing, especially with like the site visit. Like, I didn't know anything about the plant at all until I got there.
In AP Environmental Science, there's been a lot of things that early on, at the very beginning of the year, as we first started understanding what kind of things were reported in the ACER, but throughout the year, we can see that a lot more about the monitoring are exact things that we cover in the AP Environmental Science curriculum. Students learned a lot about different persistent organic pollutants and volatile organic compounds and things within the soil and within the water and within the air and how those accumulate and magnify across the living area. It was really beneficial to them to kind of see that progression of the content and understanding for themselves and application in their own backyard.
Through these efforts, we can assess the effectiveness of our cleanup mission and ensure the long-term health of the environment. At the end of the day, we want to spark students' interest in becoming the next generation of scientists, engineers, and technicians to help us with our long-term goals here at the Paducah site.
All right, any thoughts from board on the video?
Well done.
Yeah, it's really good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What stood out to you, Gay?
Oh, gosh. I just thought the students were very well spoken and seemed very knowledgeable.
Anyone else?
What Gage just said is exactly what we're trying to get to. You heard the students say, I hadn't thought about it. I didn't know, what they did. I didn't understand the impacts. They talked about how, they're able to talk intelligently about the projects that we take on that actually do clean up. And then this is part of the verification. The report that's produced every year, I have to say, is not, I'm sure it doesn't get read a lot, but these students have, and you can just see it. They're some of the most informed people in the community because of some of these interactions. Side benefit, they're working with university professors, they're working with site subject matter experts. Just a great opportunity and one of the neat things they let us do at the department. So I thought that was a great video. I hadn't seen it yet, actually, Eric, so that was great.
Hey, Zach, the copy of this year's Student ACER is not out yet, correct?
Murray State is, my understanding, they're in the process of publishing that.
Okay, and we'll
So
get
as soon as it's published, we'll have a copy.
fantastic. Other thoughts, comments on the student ACER video?
Would
We're
you
hoping
consider
to.
having students, Eric, come to a board meeting and talk about their experiences with that, maybe even some of the other interactions that we have with them?
Absolutely. So we would, it's one of the things we were hoping to do this summer. We just couldn't quite get it squared away, is we would like to bring some of the kids that have, we did have the folks from McCracken County who ended up at the National Science Bowl last year. We'd like to bring them in to talk about their experience and what that means. We've got the kids involved with the student ACER and let them come in and talk about the program and what they experience. So we would love to, we just need to coordinate with, those kids are very busy. Those are high performing kids that do lots of things. You heard it was AP environmental science, right? So that's no joke. The Science Bowl will take anybody, right? But the AP, um, um, environmental science, those kids work hard, and so we wanna make sure that we give them the opportunity to come in and kind of tell their story and let you ask questions and see the impact that these programs and what's important from a CAB perspective is these are programs that in the past the CAB has written recommendations supporting. You have said we want to see an involvement with driving next generation employment, reaching student engagement, funding for these things. And so it's been a kind of a passion of the board in the past. And so you guys are starting to see the fruit of the work that's been put in. And I would hope as we continue to this year look at writing budget and funding recommendations and prioritizing cleanup issues that you keep these programs on the forefront of DOE and encourage them not only to continue, but to, where possible and feasible, to, give Steve Clemens a wink and a nod and say, hey, where we can expand and reach more kids. That's a great plan. So pretty fantastic. Any other thoughts, comments? Hey, thanks, Greg. Thanks, Zach. I appreciate you guys walking us through that. All right, so you have received 2 items of public comment. One was received actually a couple months ago. It was probably at this point 3 months ago, maybe a little longer, from a Miss Bonnie Koblitz, and she shared it with us in order to when you submit written public comment. We have to have it within a week from this day. So if you're watching online and there's anything that we have said that has spurred an interest and you would like to send your, questions, comments, thoughts, submit those in writing. They go to Zach Boyarsky at pppo.gov. Please put public comment in the subject line. Zach will receive those as a government contractor. He will send that over to us. I just don't have a .gov email, so it's got to go through Zach for federal purposes. And then we will make sure those comments, if they're received within a week from today, they'll go into this next meeting's minutes. If we receive it after that, it will roll into the following month's minutes. So like whenever we receive them, we will add them. It's just a matter of timing as to where they fall. So Ms. Koblitz submitted the written piece of email and you have it in front of you. So I wanted you to be aware of that. That is a PDF from Bonnie Koblitz. Mr. Troy Aston submitted a letter to us. He has filed an issue with the GAO office, and so his submission is included in the public comments, as well as the letter asking for that submission to be provided to you guys. So you have the letter in its hard form in your packet. There is a link within, actually, I think the entire document is posted in the, yes, it is posted in the Google Doc that you received. So you can see his entire submission to the GAO office. When the minutes come out, we will post both the letter from Ms. Koblitz and the email cover letter from Mr. Aston. And then Mr. Aston's comments will have a digital link to this Google Drive where you can find the full submission. It's kind of our requirements for anything that's a multi-page attachment to an email. So we have received those public comments. If we receive more, when we receive them, we will compile them and send them to you next Thursday with the entire package of submitted comments. Any questions on handling or your receiving of the written comments? Okay. All right. Any final comments from the board? We know Ben had to step out. Any comments from you guys before we wrap up? Hey, these meetings are way more fun when we're in person and we get to see each other and spend a little time before and after the meetings, but I appreciate you jumping online. I'm glad everyone made it safe through the storms last night, and I cannot wait to be with you again in September. If between now and then you need anything, you have questions or want to discuss anything that we've covered tonight, or just want to talk, please don't hesitate to reach out to Haley and I. Would love to show you. They've painted the room 215 where we have our CAB meetings, so would love to show that to you. Haley's office is in the process of being painted now, so I'm going to get a full makeover on that. So we're looking forward to that. So come by, check us out, and we will see you in September. Gay, since Ben stepped out, you were in charge of this shindig. Who knew, right?
Who knew?
So you get to gavel us out.
All right. Well, I don't have a gavel, but meeting adjourned.
Perfect. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it, guys. Have a great night.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.